This is a little taste of what we're talking about today.
Exactly. Show you how much money I've made and
Yeah.
how it's got a bajillion followers and people can't stop talking about it. Have you
And
and your new
I'm throwing my
Spanish,
wedding there.
yeah, you and your Spanish girlfriend that you picked up at the
Yeah.
grocery store. Love to host you.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm talking with my friend Tristan Gardner, who is planning on purchasing a short term rental here in 2025. He's trying to figure out if he is going to operate it himself, what all that's going to entail, or if he should hire someone out to manage the property. It's going to be a great episode. We're going to learn a ton and figure out if you yourself have what it takes to manage a short term rental correctly. So make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get into the episode.
We'll just jump in. How many do you own?
Okay. I own 4 units and 2 properties of a mix of short-term rentals. Soon to be 5 units is the goal.
Okay, so you would add more. You would keep doing it.
I I would keep doing it, yeah.
Okay. Why? Why is four not basically? I guess why did you go from one to four? I guess is the first question. What made it to be like,
So
yeah, I'll keep doing this?
yeah, I actually went from 0 to 4 within a span of like 6 months, and it was way too much, I would say. So I do not recommend anyone to scale that quickly because I was doing so much rehab and you have so much upfront costs for furniture and design that I had to kind of like do pay some of it with credit cards on like interest only so that I could afford to manage it and get by. And it worked out, but it was a lot of upfront risk because I was taking on too many projects when I knew nothing at once. And the reason I would add one more is because it's in my property that's 4 units. 2 of them are currently short term rental. And so the other one, it's like it needs to be updated and remodeled. So if I remodel it, I might as well do it good enough to be a short term rental or at least a mid term rental. And it's a small enough unit to where furnishing in it wouldn't be too expensive. Maybe like 10,000 total to furnish it is my estimate.
Okay. Is that pretty normal furnishing wise for 10K? I feel like that's light.
It is for, I'd say it's light for, it's only a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, like 900 square foot. It's on the small side. It's literally just bedroom, living room, half a kitchen really, and a bathroom. So that's why it's going to be light. For my duplex, I converted it from a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 car garage on each side into a 4 bedroom, 2 bath on each side. And that was like 130 worth of rehab plus another 55,000 in design and furnishing.
How do you pay for that? You said credit cards. I mean, do you have hard money loans on that too to just get it stabilized or just
Yeah, so I did credit cards plus what I had in my funds. And then, but for the rehab, I partnered with my mom and she basically gave me a loan of 130. She pulled out a HELOC, so I just pay her interest in more than what her HELOC is. And then the plan is once I get my taxes back this year to refinance her out of it and get my own HELOC on it so that I can pay her off. But it's just been
gotcha?
interest only payments on that as of right now. And it's just been breaking even, really, because I have very minimal equity in it from when I bought it, because I bought it as a house hack. And so I put maybe 30,000 into it, and I could probably get maybe 40 or 50 now out of it.
Gotcha. I like it. What did you, I guess, what's the software stack look like that you use to, I don't know, you have a property management company, which we'll get into on that, but what'd you start with? What'd you set up and kind of why'd you pick what you picked? I'm a big
Mm-hmm.
software guy. I think you kind of know that just
Yeah.
from our conversations in the past. So,
Mm-hmm. So when I first started, when I was living in it, I did do Airbnb just out of like a bedroom rental to kind of get my toes into it to figure out what I was doing. And I used Price Labs for pricing. That helped out a ton to kind of automate everything so you're not going through and checking all the other units that are nearby, see what they're pricing it at. Plus, you have holidays, so you want to uptick it on holidays too, and it helps out with that. But you still have to do your research on what holidays are going to be good for your area and kind of see what competitive pricing is. But Price Labs helps out with that a lot. It does cost, it will cost some money, but you'll probably make 20% more than doing it yourself, I would say. And then the other one I would use was just Airbnb's website for guest communications. And I just did that. I had the app on my phone and manually did it whenever they sent a message, had any questions. I would send it back to them. You can set up preset automations on there too for if they ask something around, oh, where's the location? It's like, oh, it's near this, this, this. These are some fun things to do and all that type of stuff. And when they do book it, you can give them like a little booklet on what you can do in the area so they kind of know what their experience is going to be like whenever they book this place.
What's that app called again?
So Price Labs and then just the Airbnb app. And if you put it on host mode, is how you do that. Another one that could be good
Interesting.
is gonna be Guesty. I never fully use that, but Renjoy, my property management company, they use that a ton for guest communications, and I believe they do stuff with cleaners through that too. I never really dealt with cleaners a whole lot since I just cleaned it myself when I lived there, and it was just a little bedroom. But you're going to want to get the timing right for, okay, we have one that's coming in. They need to know where all the supplies are and when the next guest is going to be showing up. Because sometimes, mostly what Renjoy does is they have one unit will leave at, or one guest or party will leave by 10 a.m. Cleaner will show up at 10 a.m., clean until 4 o'clock, or however fast it takes to get it done, basically. And then at 4 o'clock, the next guest will show up if it's like same day turnover. And so you really have to get that down and nail those turnovers and make sure it's clean. And oftentimes they have all cleaners provide photos too of, okay, here's what it looked like before, here's what it looked like afterwards. Everything's clean. Oh, there was some damage here. Take a photo of this damage so that it can be documented so you know that at least they're checking on the property and you know if anything needs to be fixed. If you're planning to get photos done on your next listing or rental property, don't forget to reach out to Wayne with Homani to get 20% off your next shoot.
What what made you decide basically to go from managing it yourself to using your PM company?
It was a ton of work and doing the cleaning. I was like, I don't have time for this. And there were times when I was like, oh, I'm out of town and I have a guest turnover happening and I can't clean it to be there. So I had to like basically be like, hey, can you not come or like cancel their booking because I couldn't get the space cleaned in time. So just the time aspect for it was tremendous. And you get questions from guests all the time. And you're like constantly on call for answering questions that guests have. And if there's something that is important, then you have to be there to answer that question relatively quickly, or else they're going to get frustrated and can leave a bad review. And reviews are a whole nother thing we can talk about. But if you get bad reviews on Airbnb, that's horrible. And it kind of tanks your listing on what page your listing will pop up at.
Gotcha. Do you do like anything like big themes, or is it just a nice place to stay and it's pretty and modern and clean? What do you do?
Yeah, so I've done two that are themed, two that are not really themed. They're just kind of historic themes because the house was built in the year 1900, so we just kind of kept the look of it's nice, it's old, that type of feel, but it still is modern and updated, so that you feel like you're in an old area, but it has everything up to date. The two in the duplex we did poker themed. That one's really sick. I really like that one. We have like a sign that says like all in. We turned the garage into a bedroom, but it's just like a game room area on both the units, so you can sleep there with a pull-out couch. Pull-out couches are very helpful where you can still add guests but have spaces where they can hang out. And the other unit we did like a Candyland themed. We call it Rocky's Rainbow Road, and Rocky's Royale is the poker one. And so we have like it's like the Candyland track that kind of goes all and loops around. We have that painted on the wall, and there's a bunch of board games, and it's a lot more colorful, I'd say. Being like poppy and themed, people like that. People want to go to a place, have a fun time. Like, oh, this one's cool because it stands out in the photos. Half the thing is just having good photos and a good review on Airbnb to make sure that they book your place.
Definitely something that Lindsay and I are looking into, and we want to. I want to do a theme, a destination. I want it to be, TikTok worthy. I don't want it just to be a.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't want to stay at a Marriott tonight. I'll just get an Airbnb instead. No, I'd much rather do the themes, and that's what we'll do for sure.
Yeah, I'd say 100% do a theme and get accent walls done too. Whether you paint them yourself or hire someone out that can do a good job at it, that will help out a ton. And I can send you some of my photos that you can check out and kind of see what they look
Yeah, for
like.
sure. Please do.
Hmm.
Definitely interested to see that. Did you design it yourself, or did you just like
No,
hire
I
anybody
see that.
online? Or
That's another thing. I don't have the skills and or the time to do any of that. So I just hired everything out, all the contracting work, the designer. My designer did. I had two designers. One did the duplex, one did the fourplex, and they both did a good job. No complaints about either one. They just had different ways of how everything was paid. And so one of them would be like, "Oh, these are all the items I want to buy for furnishings. Buy them online and get them shipped." Is what she would tell me. So then I would have to go and order them, which worked out because then I would get all the credit card points and everything. So it was cool, and I used that for trips and whatnot. But then on the other one, she bought everything, so I just paid her directly, and that was a lot easier because then I didn't have to worry about getting everything on time and staying up late, making sure everything's being purchased and whatnot. And she did a lot of the design work herself. So she would do the accent wall paintings and make it look really cool.
yeah, definitely excited to see some pictures. What do you
I wonder if I can share my screen. I'll try and pull them up real quick here. Um, while you ask the next question.
Yeah, so money wise, I guess what do you bring in gross on properties? Kind of what's market and what do you bring in?
Mm-hmm. For Colorado, it is winter sucks, summertime is awesome. And so, it hits the scale where it's like this, and it's like, oh, really great. And like July is probably our peak month, and then it dips back down. And so I've had the duplex for a year. I can pull up all that information too. Um, this year, I'm projected to hit around 180 total between the duplex and the fourplex units, so between 4 units total is what it's projected to look like. And I would say on average, I probably get, let's see here, I'll have to do some math. Because I think the duplex last year made around 65, and that started in March until December. And this year it's projected to make around 75 total. And if we can get it to that to 80, that's the goal. That's where I'll be cash flowing probably around a few hundred, like probably around between 500 and 600 a month total is what that would be. So,
But I mean, you're highly levered too, right? And it's fully managed.
and yeah, exactly. So probably around 6,000 is average over the course of every single month is what I get, and then of course July will hit like probably 12, and then in January and February we hit 3. Is
3 grand
kind
a
of like the
month.
lit. Yeah. Like this last month, the duplex made. It's also funky with how the bookings worked out because I had a guy that booked it for 2.5 months, and so I don't get the money until his checkout date, and so that will all get thrown to the month of March now, and so March is gonna hit like you know 15,000, but the other months only hit like two because they were only getting the bookings from the other unit, not from this unit too. So those things
Gotcha.
kind of affect the way it's spread out into it.
Interesting. What's your property manager's fee?
They do 25%. For
That sounds
me,
like a lot.
it is a lot, yeah. And in like Summit County, they'll do it at which is like Breckenridge, the mountains areas. It can get up to 35-40% for those areas. For me, they do it at 20% because I do work for them, so they give me kind of like an employee discount type of thing.
Do you know what kind of market is like standard Airbnb management?
Around 20, 25 is what I'd say.
Do they handle the like repair requests, send out handyman and stuff, and just pass you on the bills and all that as well?
Yes, they do that too. Um,
What do you
and
do,
they
Tanner? What do you do here?
nowadays I kind of just make sure I get paid and that it gets booked. That's what I do nowadays, for because they handle everything. And I will say on the expenses aspect, they will fix anything. So my expense bill can hit like $400 or $500 easily every single month across the entire portfolio. But there's some things where I'm like, does that need to be fixed? Like, I don't know if like that needed to be fixed. So that's kind of like the one thing where I'm like, yeah, I probably could have saved some money there on that thing. But they take care of it because their main focus is providing a good property that's going to get good views.
I've heard that from a couple people, just investor friends that I have. They're like, I switched from self-managing my long-term rental to
Mm-hmm.
having a company manage it, and all of a sudden my tenants are like, the light is yellow light instead of, warmer
Yeah.
yellow light, and we're going to need that fixed. And they're like,
Yeah.
they know they're not dealing with the owner anymore, they're dealing with the company, so they do whatever the heck they want. So,
Can you see
yeah,
my
cool.
screen?
I can.
Yeah. So this is the Rainbow Road one. And we did like a little game room area with the Pac-Man setup. Here's that road design thing, and this photo right here, we actually had right like where this wall ends right here, this little rectangle, you can kind of see it. There was a pantry going down. We demoed that whole thing and opened it up so it would be like an open floor plan and make it more inviting for people that actually want to hang out in this area, which I think helped out a ton. And then we put new fencing and fire pits out here. You can see what the old fencing was like, and this is all the new fencing. On the other side right here, we put a hot tub, which hot tubs are help out a ton for getting more revenue. I would say most people don't even really use it. Just the fact that it shows and it says, "Oh, we got a hot tub." People are interested in it.
How
This one's pretty sick
how do
too.
you know if people use the hot tub or not?
Um, I would say just because I live at one of them and I rarely see people in there whenever I walk by or hear them in there, I'd say. I mean, people definitely use it, but it's like of all the guests that come, maybe like 30% I see them using it, I'd say. Hmm.
It's I want to have a hot tub, but I'm not actually going to use the hot tub. I gotcha.
It's kind of like one of those things, and I mean, the one I got was from Home Depot, and it was like $5,000, I want to say, for the whole thing. And the one thing we designed this kitchen like for Airbnb, so if we were ever to sell it, it kind of sucks that we have like this pink and brown backsplash in the background, but it is what it is.
I like the accent walls because they're not walls, they're corners, so it's like
Yeah. Hmm.
elegantly done without being like, oh, that's a lot of yellow, or orange
Yeah.
stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and it still makes it pop out, and it's only very minimal too, so it doesn't take a ton of work in order to make that happen. This one is actually just wallpaper that was put up in the back.
So you had, like it looks like a Keurig in there with like probably pods, I'm assuming, and then like some stuff in the
Yeah.
showers. Like what all do you provide as far as necessities go, like soaps and little
Hmm.
things like that?
Yeah, toilet paper, paper towels, coffee, a few snacks, some dishes, like very minimal. Um, Obviously, it's a bigger place. You want to have at least 6 to 8 dishes for them to use. Um, the big thing for cooking is you want to have a good amount of pots and pans. Because if someone is to cook, they're like, oh, I need these things to cook, but we have none of them here. So then it's like, what are we going to do now about this?
Sure. So you're definitely going over more of an experience to stay, right? Like a destination, not just oh, I need a place. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Can you see this next one?
Yep. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah. This one's pretty sick.
I like this already.
And they each have their own, like, back patio area. There's the pull out couch right there, too.
Go back one. So do you always do pack and plays in high chairs?
Yeah. For all the ones that are probably 3 bedroom or more, most of them will have them because we're trying to target families on the larger ones, and oftentimes they'll have a kid. And so it's just good to know that that's there and it's just in the closet and can get pulled out pretty quickly. I guess spices is another thing that we provide.
Okay, but a spice rack with some stuff from Amazon, and you just refill it when
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah. That's the split for it side by side, and everyone just parks right there in the front.
Hmm. How did you determine how much, as far as money into this thing to make it profitable, I guess, when you underwrote the deal?
Hmm. Yeah. So I spoke with my property management team, which is who I work for, and I had them underwrite it. And since they manage them, and I was kind of seeing what they were seeing, plus I also used AirDNA to like comparative. Okay, they think it could make this. AirDNA is saying this. Kind of what are my numbers going to be looking like here? And the overall consensus was around 40,000 each for a four bedroom, two bath in the area. And I was like, okay, that's around 80. And when I ran my numbers, I used probably 75 is what it was. And if we hit 60, then it would break even. And so I just kind of worked backwards from there based off of what my mortgage was. And then if I were to be borrowing money from to make everything happen, what I could borrow at and how much it could be, and kind of combine that with, okay, this is what the rehab can be. Does this all make sense? And it worked out where it's like, okay, if it breaks even for a couple years, I'd be fine until I'm able to refinance because it is very highly leveraged with multiple investors.
Gotcha. How was AirDNA higher or lower than what the actual property manager said you were going to get?
Lower. Because when Renjoy analyzed it, they analyze it using what their standards are for a property because they only do top quality. They don't do like lower quality rentals. And they're like, okay, we're gonna do this. You have to have a hot tub because we are seeing it based off the ones that we currently have that are similar to what this could be, and it makes this much more. And when we manage them, we aim for this. We do higher quality standards, better reviews, all that. And that's why they thought a higher price. AirDNA will take all of them that are in the nearby area and compare them to those, even if it's a good one. And oftentimes you don't know if it's been on available to rent for an entire year, if it's half the year or just in summer. All those things will play into the AirDNA one that you kind of have to dig into it a bit more to find out.
Okay. So with a gut feeling, you think AirDNA is more conservative than I don't actually.
Yeah. Hmm.
Most likely. Okay. I like it. So basically you're like it'll make 40 a year, right? So I'll spend up to 40. So then in year two I'd start making money is kind of the gut
Yeah.
check.
Hmm. Yeah. And I was going for long-term play on it,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I'm also planning on holding it for at least 10 years. And in Colorado Springs, we have different permit laws, and so the permit I have on it qualifies it as a non-owner occupied, and it's not likely to change. I mean, anything could happen, but it's basically locked in for any new changes that they could make in the future.
Where did you get a lot of your furnishings, decorations? You said the one person had you order it. Where'd you get a lot of stuff?
A Wayfair was the biggest one. Also, AFW, American Furniture Warehouse, is another one. And they are a mix of good quality and not crazy expensive. It was definitely like, $600 for a dresser, and you're like, do we really need to do this? But you want stuff to be sturdy too, because how many people coming in and out, and kids get to playing on stuff, stuff breaks if it's not good condition and good quality, and then that's when you have to start making repairs or get new furnishings. And I didn't want to do that, and all of my other like mentors that own Airbnbs, that's what they were telling me, that problems that they were having. And so I was like, okay, I'll just trust you on it and we'll just get good quality stuff and have it all be from Wayfair, AFW, a little bit from Amazon. I think we got our mattresses from Amazon. I ordered like seven mattresses, like queen and king mattresses, and they just came in like the boxes. Crazy
Unroll
thing,
them and they're like,
yeah.
yep.
I ordered them and we ordered one too many on accident. And I said like, "Oh, can I return it?" And they said, "No, we'll just refund you and you can keep it," because they didn't want to deal with it. And I was like, "Okay." So then I just sold it to someone and made the difference basically, and worked out pretty well.
Funny story with Amazon. I needed brakes for my truck, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, I'll throw them on for you." I'm like, "Dude, I can take it to a dealership. It's not a big deal." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. Like it'll be fine." And it was more of a we just kind of screw around with brakes and just hang out. Right?
Yeah.
So there's two sizes for my truck. So I was like, screw it. I'll just buy both of them. That way, I can't mess it up. We'll have what we need because I'd
Yeah.
hate to come back and do it again. So anyway,
Uh-huh.
I ordered the kit. So it's kits like, front rotors, rear rotors, pads, all that stuff. And I ordered both sizes. So there's two kits for each. I got one size, break a box full of all the things I needed, and they sent me a whole ass refrigerator. So like I get home and I see a box of brakes, it
Yeah.
weighs, I don't know, 100 or so pounds because it's brakes.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like
Yeah.
a Frigidaire, like apartment size refrigerator sitting next to it. I was like, what? So I thought my wife was like, oh, I got you. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? And Amazon said the same thing. They're like, yeah, that's like a 200-pound refrigerator. Like, just keep it. You can have your
Yeah.
500 bucks back. I'm like, really? I
Yeah.
need the brakes though. Like,
Yeah.
in this example, the one that was supposed to come that was in a refrigerator is the size I actually needed. So it caused me more headache.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny they
Uh-huh.
do that. They're like, it's not worth the shipping return
Yeah.
costs and hassle. So just keep it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I've heard that when you do return stuff to Amazon, they just will put it into like a random crates and then they'll just sell those crates to people and then they're like, yeah, you can like what's your bid and you can take all this stuff and you don't know what's in it and then they'll go through and like resell it on like Facebook Marketplace and stuff when it's just like a used thing that got sent back and Amazon didn't want to deal with it.
If I had the time, dude.
Yeah.
If I had the time. That's funny. All right. So AFW, Wayfair, a little bit from Amazon. When things do break, Airbnb will say on their website, "Oh, we got you. You'll use our insurance. This, that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We get that it's risky." Have you had any experience with actually dealing with them?
I've just heard the stories about what they do with Airbnb, and they get into like arguments of like, no, the guest did this, like they broke it, they need to pay for it. We're not giving them their money back, and rent and Airbnb will disagree sometimes because they'll side with the customer, which is the guest, not always the host. And so there can be some pretty hairy stuff with that. They have like a support line that you have to go to. They try and be pretty fast, but I would say make sure you document stuff, which is why on the cleanings they take photos so then they can go back and like before the guest arrives, this was the cleaning photo of the said whatever, and it was working and operating perfectly fine. And then now the guest is saying this, like if they claim, oh, it's not clean here, it's dirty, and they want a refund, they can show, yep, it was perfectly clean before. We're not going to be refunding you for this because we have photo proof, which is why the photos come in handy. But yeah, you can get into some tricky things arguing with Airbnb. It's kind of like a he said, she said things. And we do have cameras on the outside of the property. And so if they get into any type of like party scenarios, we can see how many people are going in to the place and to kind of avoid that as much as possible.
Okay. Um, with, well, I guess parties specifically, or cameras. So I've stayed at like one Airbnb my entire life. Yeah, maybe two. One nice Airbnb and one like somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
cheap. We'll just put it there. And on the nice Airbnb, there's a camera on the front on the outside. Is that kind of the extent that you do, or do you do like full coverage everywhere?
Mm, well, since we have multiple units, we'll usually do about one or two per unit. We have one typically on the hot tub area, so that's like on the backyard. And then on the front side, we have one angled at the front door, and then there's like it's kind of a covered porch area, so we have one that's like on the walkway going to the other unit too, and so it kind of faces that walkway. And we use Arlo is the camera company. Um, they kind of it's more motion censored is how they pop up, and they will light up too, and they're powered by sunlight is how they're done.
Okay. Was that just what another Airbnb guy was using, or was it just the cheapest thing on Amazon and you threw it up there, or why'd you pick Arlo?
Mm, Renjoy does it, my property management team, and so it works best for what they need across their whole portfolio of checking which properties cameras whenever a situation comes up. And so that's what they stuck with. I've heard some other ones still do pretty good. But yeah, that's the one they chose. And mhm.
I like it. How detailed are these photos that these cleaners are taking? Is it just like a picture of a room, or do you have like hit lists of every time you need to take pictures here, 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 and here?
Yeah, I'd say it's more just of the room. Uh, and then if there's anything specific that they need to check, like bathroom, like take a photo of like the shower and tub, uh, specifically to make sure that we got that cleaned. You want to see that all the beds are made, so that's why it's a broad one of the room. Probably get the window in there to make sure that there's nothing occurring on the window. Yeah, they're more pretty broad unless there's something specific that you have had issues with in the past, I'd
Okay.
say.
Tell me about your horror stories. What bad things have happened?
Mm, Noise is a huge one, especially for the duplex. Does pretty good because it's most stuff. The walls that are together is only the bathrooms and hallways, so it's not like there's much like partying going on or like when 4 or 5 people that are related or friends get together, you play a little music, it can get kind of loud. But on my fourplex, the walls are very thin and we have just doors that are separating them, and like we have some soundproofing, but it needs to be better. And so they complain a lot about noise and how it doesn't feel private, because a lot of people want that privacy of, okay, this is only us at this property in their home, which they can definitely get if you pay a little bit more for it, because we price ours a little bit lower for that. um, so I would say definitely the noise complaints. I have had a lot of like construction guys will come through if they're working on a project nearby, and they'll stay for like a week, week and a half sometimes. And once you get to that week and it gets to like pushing 2 weeks, it's a huge clean and a huge turnover afterwards. And it like takes 1 or 2 cleaners to go through and make sure everything gets taken care of, because they didn't really take care of the place that well. Um, just because they go out, they work, they got dust and everything, and when they track it all throughout the house and whatnot, um, that's been a big issue and has cost some higher cleaning costs for that specific type of tenant.
Do you do anything where like under 7 days it's a $200 cleaning fee, under 14 days it's a or 7 to 14 it's 250, 14 to 21 it's 300. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm. In real estate, first impressions can make or break a deal. Whether you're listing a home for sale or marketing an investment property, having high quality photos are key at grabbing attention. If you want to stand out in the competitive Colorado Springs market, having high quality photos is essential. And Wayne over at Homadi excels at getting the best possible photos for your property. He is based right here in Colorado Springs and specializes in capturing properties in the best light. If you're ready to take your property photos to the next level, make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi and mention you heard about him from Tanner at Red and Joy Real Estate to get 20% off your next shoot. Remember, great photos can make the difference between a quick sale and a stale listing. So make sure to contact Wayne over at Homadi today. You can definitely change the cleaning fee price on Airbnb. I know sometimes they ask you like, oh, we don't want you putting the cleaning fee on there. We want you to wrap it in to the price. Renjoy doesn't do that. They do the cleaning fee separately because they have to pay their cleaners and other, and there's like some other mindset stuff to it, because if they see, oh, this one's this price and this one's this price, and cleaning fee versus not cleaning fee, oftentimes they just look at what the price is of it, and then once they're in to check out, then they see the cleaning fee and they're like, okay, that's understandable. You're gonna have to clean it. Like, we'll do it. To my knowledge, I don't know if they do it a higher one for the longer that it is stayed in. I never did when I did it, if it's a longer stay. I know that they do offer them. They said, hey, like, you're staying here for a month, we can do a 2 week clean for you. But you have to pay for the clean, and it's usually just like straight what the price is going to be for them to come through and clean it.
Gotcha. Okay. What about like other apps? I've had a brief conversation with somebody else, and I think they use Hostaway,
Mm-hmm.
which is use Guesty, right?
Yeah. I think it's kind of similar to Guesty. I think it
One of
kind
the
of just
things that I
depends.
know they did was like direct bookings through Hostaway
Mm,
instead of through Airbnb. Do you mess with that at all, or do you just always go through Airbnb? That way it's secure,
yeah.
backed, and
So we do. I'd say when you're first starting out, doing direct bookings is not the biggest worry that you should try and have, because most people are going to find it through Airbnb or VRBO the most, or even Booking.com is another one that we use. They do have their Renjoy website, which has all of theirs, but they have 160. So that's why they have their direct booking sites. And they'll make social posts to get people to them. And then oh, this is actually a good thing. Any guest that stays, you have to put like your email in to get the Wi-Fi and everything. And so they get their email and then they'll send them, oh, hey, come back and stay. These are our other properties we have available too. And use our direct booking link to come back. So that's how they'll get people to come back and use their direct booking link, and they can save a little percentage there than what you'd be giving VRBO and Airbnb. But it's very hard to kind of get to where you're going to stand out more than Airbnb on your direct booking site in order to save a little percentage. It's going to take extra work and more costs on SEO and Google that you might as well just use Airbnb and not worry about it as much.
Awesome. All right, we're on a recorded line, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to
Okay.
copy this guy, and this is what I'm going to do. Is it coming up?
I'm not seeing it yet. It's loading. Okay.
So this is it. Um, Essentially these little like let's make it this guy. These oh, that's even worse. These little A-frame
Was that
cabins.
up when I was presenting? Did you see that too?
No, I think you might have it
Oh,
on a different screen. I can't get
oh, okay.
it to go anymore. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's good.
These little A-frame like ultra luxurious cabin things,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is really the only Airbnb I went on. Hot tub, just finished freaking ultra,
Yeah.
ultra high-end, beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed at the Zen Garden, and it's like a little two-bedroom,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
looks
this
sweet.
spiral staircase that's all pine, like it's solid pine,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, had a cool little nook thing up at the top with a fire pit outside. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually surprised there's not more. There he goes. Yeah, it overlooks like the lake. And it's just these A-frame cabins. So I want like
Mm-hmm.
a little 4 acre plot, like built in, like just solid concrete table thing that they made. This is a loft upstairs,
Mm-hmm.
bathroom,
Yeah,
big
it looks
walk-in
sick.
shower. Yeah, like the stairs
Uh-huh.
all lit up. It was sweet. Yeah, these bunk bed things. It's all built in. So I think the place it has, 4 of these A-frames and then this big lodge. So I want to do this and then kind of add on a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and do like a wedding venue at the end of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
But start with this, prove the concept, and then kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
What we
this guy
notice
that's
in
good.
I was gonna say what we notice in Colorado is that the more it looks like a log cabin and like A-frame style, for some reason, people love staying in that, and the revenue just shoots up on those for some reason. So if you can find one or build one, it's definitely the way to go.
Those are like, I definitely like the idea of like destination stuff and theme stuff. Like, I love your poker and Candyland. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot because if you can merge the two on like, oh yeah, it's just like I know like the people around here, like they're like, oh, it's a nice house, it's decorated pretty. It's like, yeah, okay, like it's a staged house that you would list is essentially kind of what
Mm-hmm.
I would equate it to. And I guess they make decentish money, but like I'm looking for more of a something that I can throw a marketing team behind, blast it up on social. When people show up, they're taking,
Mm-hmm.
pictures with it. It's all over their stories. We get
Yeah.
direct bookings through there. That's what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
spending an extra 100 to 150,000 to get that level over a course of 5 years, I think would pay tenfolds in my
Mm-hmm.
gut check
Yeah.
opinions.
I feel like in that case you would, since you are wanting to do the wedding venue style and you're wanting to give that experience, then yes, you would want to have a direct booking site because then that's a different type of experience than just an Airbnb, I'd
It
say.
would be that's
Yeah.
kind of phase two, right? So really,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be more than one. The land and probably a cabin or two is the start, and then maybe another two or three, and then add a if the space allows, add a if I could find a freaking barn and spend
Yeah.
100 grand with a barn and throw some
Yeah.
concrete pads around the outside of it, like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's kind of sad that's all it takes anymore. But
Yeah. Some cool lights and you're good to go.
yeah, throw a goat in there too, and you
Yeah.
hold. But like if you could go in and say, here's a cool wedding location. This is a stupid amount of money for a day or a
Mm-hmm.
night or whatever. But then there's this next package up where you now have a spot for the night, or whatever,
Hmm.
the pre-wedding party,
Yeah.
places to get ready. You can come
Bachelor
stay. Oh,
party, bachelor group, whatever. Yeah.
exactly. The night before, if they do that, yeah. So it'd be a full turnkey everything. So I kind of like the idea of that. But the other thing I just want a really nice spot for Lindsay and I to go away.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
these little cabin things I feel like would hit pretty good.
Yeah. And then you can get more creative with financing too, because then it doesn't have to be. It could be a vacation home loan too, if you were to buy one that had enough land to where you could build others, but then you buy this one as that loan product, so the rates might not be as high.
That and, I don't know, keep refining my vacation loan to get a
Yeah.
bigger vacation loan.
Yeah. To get.
I don't know how that works, but
Me neither. I wonder if there's a cap on how big that those loans can be. Because I mean, some vacation homes are like millions. So
that's what I mean.
yeah,
And like, I mean, if I could prove the value's there, then a
yeah.
couple final easy questions. Insurance wise, what do you do there?
Huh.
Do you have proper
Um.
short-term rental insurance and general liability? What do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just have it as a investment property landlord policy, and then there's riders that you can add on for short-term rentals that I've done. And then the one that I live in, that one, like they still know it's a short-term rental, but we only did the homeowner's policy because I'm living in it. And so that one just it had different coverages on it, and since you were living in it, that's what they required at the end of the day.
Okay.
And it's just through Allstate is who I use. Hmm.
Anything else you'd want to tell somebody looking to get into this thing?
And we covered the expenses like from maintenance. That was a big one that I budgeted it in, but it was more than I was expecting it to be. It is a lot of work if you do it yourself. You just got to be willing to put in the work to figure out how to do it correctly and smoothly.
How much work would you say it takes if you were like hours per week?
10 to 15, I'd say. Mainly stuff on the computer and on your phone, messaging back and forth of organizing cleaners and trying to get new guests booked, making adjustments to the listing, following up to get reviews, finding new cleaners if one fails, doing a maintenance thing. Yeah.
I love it. Well, dude, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Uh, this was invaluable. I know we've done this before, so I appreciate you, and can't wait to talk again a year later and show you how much money I've made and
Yeah.
how it's got a bajillion followers and people can't stop talking about it. Have you
And
and your new
I'm throwing
Spanish,
my wedding there.
yeah, you and your Spanish girlfriend that you picked up at the
Yeah.
grocery store. Love to host you. That's gonna make the
That,
podcast. Don't edit that out.
yeah. Well, we're moving that to the front to get
Yeah,
people
yeah,
like this is a little taste of what we're talking about today.
exactly. The last 5 seconds of the role foreshadow it. So I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. I hope you learned a thing or two and that it helps out. So if you have any other questions, let me know. Or if you want me to try and figure out what my property management does for certain things, I'll make sure to ask them.
I guess one final, how much cash on hand would you say somebody should have to start for a simple 3 bed, 1 bath, or 3 bed, 1.5 bath? Because
Yeah.
obviously,
Uh-huh. Uh, I'd say down payment aside, because that depends on how you're doing, down payment, because that's pretty simple 20%, 10%, whatever you want to do. You're going to want to have some stuff for rehab and then stuff for decor and furnishings. I'd probably say around 70 to 80 minimum of decor, furnishing, and doing some rehab stuff because most of them are going to need some type of rehab unless it's like brand spanking ready to go and you just need to get good quality furniture in there and make it pop a little bit.
okay. It's about 80K with rehab, furniture, design.
Yeah.
Would be pretty safe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. So I like it.
Sweet.
Well,
Well, yeah.